Hi, class. Hope you are all staying safe and wearing your masks as we go through this pandemic. And stay safe and make sure you go out, you get some sunlight every once in a while. Go out and exercise so that you don't get stable and get all stiff from sitting in front of your computer all day and doing Zooms and all that kind of stuff. And today we're going to continue with lighting. So for the lighting assignment, I initially had you place the lights in the max file. Now we're going to work with modifying those lights and changing their distance and changing the direction and changing their intensity. So as you add lights and add intensity, it makes bright spots and it makes shadows. So then 3dsmax creates a much more believable rendering of your objects. Okay, so I'm going to start with the PowerPoint and then jump back and forth between that and the 3dsmax. Okay, so if you don't already have your Scene Explorer on, turn that on. Scene Explorer, that gives you the list of all of the light fixtures and all of the objects in your file. And you can easily select and control what it is that you're working with. So you select the object that you're working with and then use the move command so that you can see the arrow of where it's located on the screen. It gives you the UCS icon and it allows you to adjust these items. So the light itself is called light, and then the target is called the light name and then target. So we can modify both the light's location, the light's intensity, the target's location, and a few other things. So whether shadows are cast or not. So we turn the shadows on, the shadows will cast. We turn them off, they will not cast shadows, which saves CPU rendering time. Okay, so if you want to change a light, so you select the light in the Scene Explorer and then you click the modify button. So when you click the modify button over here, you then get this menu below. You scroll down the menu, scroll down to intensity, and set your intensity to some larger number. It'll probably come in, a pretty low number like 1 in some cases of Arnold lights, 1500 in the case of an average non-photometric light, which we're dealing with here. So change that intensity, set it up much higher. I've set things to 5 million at sometimes. It just depends on your scene and how much light you need within that scene. So the lights are much brighter. We change it to here, change the numbers, up the numbers. And so with more modifications, we can turn on the shadows. So you notice there's a few little shadows here. We're starting to get some highlights. The cars are just starting to glow a little bit. And as we go down, we can do some more thing. A targeted spotlight. It looks like this. The target's on this end, so you can modify the target or the light itself. The intensity is adjusted over here in the modify menu. And then with spotlights, you use the multiplier to brighten the light. So you don't directly key in the intensity, you use a multiplier. So make sure you turn on the shadows. As your shadows are turned on, you're going to see much more detail in the cars. So with the shadow maps turned on, we get this kind of we can see the darkness and all that. Changing the time in the daylight system. So if we want this scene to be brighter, we can go into the daylight system and change the time of day. So right now it's at 4 p.m. We could change that to 3 p.m. So we change that to 1500, 15, 15, 15 hours and 15 minutes. And then we can just check out the rendering. So check out this rendering. Click open the rendered frame window. You check your exposure right here, remember that? And then click the render button Now I'm clicking Save Render File. That's why it's asking me on my system. I have had it save the file for me. So we will talk about the output settings on rendering when we get to the rendering section. But basically the rendering section is this one right here with the little teapot, and you can go over there, you can change the size of the rendering and so on in there. So now you can see that we've got a lot more bright and shiny spots in our rendering than we had before. And so the goal for this week's assignment was to have you get to know daylight systems and place one in your file, get to know the various different light fixtures and how to manipulate those. So I would expect to see a few different light fixtures in your file and a daylight system. So for this week, it seems kind of easy, but with 3D Studio Max, as you can see, it's so complicated that it's a lot to grasp just to get how the lighting works, how you can adjust the time of day, and how do you adjust moving things around, right? So your sunlight system, you're adjusting it by clicking on the sun portion of your compass. So it's going to be called compass, daylight, sky, and sun. And so the sun itself is the object you click on with your Explorer, Project Explorer, and then you get to the modify menu, then you click setup. That brings you up into the time of day and the day of the year. Okay,